Ah yes, time for another classic from that subgenre of anime that we all know and love so much. That whole let's throw a hardened Yakuza into a weird situation and see what happens genre. High School Jingi is a quick one-shot OVA from 1992 that seems to have fallen under a lot of people's radar. That's a real shame considering it's pretty entertaining for what it is. Now, I'm not really surprised how obscure this thing is considering it looks so painfully average from the outside, but it could use a little hype. So we're here to do just that today. This OVA follows our protagonist, Gingi, a perverted Yakuza that's sent to a school to teach for some reason. I mean, they do mention that he has a teaching license, so it's a natural fit, of course, I guess. Well, when he shows up to the school, he falls in love with another teacher and even learns that his class is considered the one with all the bad kids. Yeah, a bad guy for a bad class. Makes sense to me. And pretty soon he ends up in a fight with his students, followed by another fight with his students, and another fight, until the whole thing concludes with a big throwdown with his students helping him fight the Yakuza at a hostess club. Yeah, that's how this whole thing wraps up. The plot isn't super thick, but no one bought this VHS tape back in the day expecting Shakespeare. It's a 50-minute slapstick action comedy with a Yakuza teacher. If that sounds like something that you would probably be into, well, you probably will be into this. I know that I was. So as soon as I started watching this complex work of art, something hit me immediately. This entire OVA feels like a Yakuza side story. Yes, I am talking about arguably the greatest game series of all time, the Yakuza, aka Like a Dragon series. This goofy yet somewhat serious tone just seems like it would make too much sense in one of the games with Kiryu or Ichiban in the main protagonist role. Now, if somehow you've never played a Yakuza game, and I recommend that you do, here's a quick summary. These games are super serious crime dramas that center around the lives of Yakuza members and those around them, and these games will rip at your emotions. They will make you fall in love with the characters, and they will make you question everything you do in your own life in the process. Are you really doing the best that you can? Are you really succeeding at life? Do you have a homoerotic best friend that pops out of trash cans and tries to fight you every 10 minutes? These are important questions that you need to consider every day of your life, and maybe you would have never even thought about them if it wasn't for the Yakuza games. On the other hand, every single one of the games in this amazing franchise have side stories that are extremely goofy most of the time. Sometimes you have to beat up a bunch of grown men in diapers. Sometimes you might have to teach some wannabe losers how to be tough. And sometimes you might even have to beat up zombies to protect Michael Jackson. Yes, that really did happen in one of the games. The world is truly your oyster in a Yakuza or Like a Dragon game, and it gets a little wild sometimes. So it really shouldn't be that shocking that this OVA felt like a 50-minute side story in one of these games. Honestly, there might even be a side story that I haven't experienced yet where you do go and teach kids at a school. There's a lot of kids in the Yakuza games after all. There's also a lot of Yakuza games, and a lot of content in each one of these games. It wouldn't shock me, and it also wouldn't shock me if someone involved with the Yakuza games watched this little OVA at some point. And I know that there are quite a few Yankee and Yakuza themed works of media out there that are way more popular, but this one just has such a similar feeling and tone to all of these games. Plus, the game series has flown its otaku flag several times throughout the years, so I would assume some of the people behind the scenes are into some pretty obscure stuff, so I would not be shocked at all if this was playing on a CRT TV on repeat in their office years later when they were putting together the very first game. And while the Yakuza games are relatively successful in the West now, these games are big in Japan. So I love imagining the idea that this very successful and very lucrative series was inspired by this silly little OVA that no one remembers. Did this influence every aspect of the games? Maybe not, but the idea of it being a reality is too funny to ignore. So at that rate, maybe they should even include Gingi as a character himself in the games. There have been plenty of big names that have made cameos throughout the years, so why not? On the other hand, he could already be in one of the games. His character design isn't the most distinctive outside of his giant forehead, so I wouldn't be shocked if he actually is in one of the games as just another tough guy in the background. So, I know what you're saying, but Kimchi, I've never played a video game in my life, and I don't even own a TV or an anime waifu pillow. Why should I watch this anime? I'm glad you asked. Well, you're in luck because this anime works really well even if it's not part of the Yakuza cinematic universe that I just decided it is indeed part of. While the animation is just okay, the jokes and tone really sell this one. While most of the jokes wouldn't sound that amazing if I tried to tell them to you here, I laughed out loud a few times, and that does not really happen to me much with anime. For example, there's a scene with a car horn honking. I don't want to ruin it for anyone that hasn't seen it, but if you have seen it, just know that I laughed out loud like a 10-year-old discovering Beavis and Butthead for the very first time the second I witnessed this. At times the humor is very reminiscent of Golden Boy, and that's not to say that all the humor is based around ecchi situations, even though some of it is. It just has a very similar tone that comes off weirdly sincere and earnest. I don't know, it just felt good for some reason. Golden Boy came out after this OVA, of course, but maybe that was influenced by this one. If I can theorize that this little OVA influenced one of the most successful game series in Japanese history, I can also do the same about it influencing another OVA, right? Right? And of course it features some action, which is pretty typical for the time, but it's not bad by any means either, so if you're wanting some decent fights, I don't think you'll be disappointed. Of course, as I mentioned earlier as well, the hero here does fall in love with another teacher, so I guess you could say there's some romance as well, kind of. Okay, listen, this OVA is super fun, but again, it's not very deep outside of the connection to the Yakuza video game series. That's probably not even a real connection, so there's not a lot of deep diving into lore and story here. That being said, I'm very okay with that here. I love stupid one-shot OVAs from the 80s and the 90s, and this one is certainly a one-shot OVA, and it's certainly stupid, so I love it. So yeah, if you want to check out a quick little anime that'll make you laugh, make you cringe, and maybe even inspire you to play one of the greatest video game series of all time, this one is for you. Sure, it's trash in a lot of ways, but it's the type of trash that I absolutely adore. I would 100% say this is a great way to kill an hour of your time, so check it out. It might not be as perfect as the anime that defined its generation, Mad Bull 34, but at least it's less problematic. So it has that going for it.